Okay? So the stuff in the appendix should directly support what's in the main paper. Okay? The rules say the appendix should not reflect other activities that are not contributing directly to the evolution of your robot through using the design process. All right, so poor notebooks. Okay, here's a list of things that we don't like to see. Okay, poor notebooks do not include every section in the guidelines. Now, it seems rather simple, okay, but it happens. Okay, so please pay attention and just make sure that you're including everything. Poor notebooks are not well organized. Okay, you have to have a table of contents. Make sure that's accurate. Okay, if you do a table of contents and then you go through your main paper and add something or subtract something which changes a page number, let's make sure we make that change in the table of contents. Okay, because it needs to actively reflect what's in the paper. Okay, I would just recommend going through the guidelines that are given to you and just kind of using those as sections in the notebook. I mean, there's no reason why you can't do that. Okay, don't try to invent a new organizational system that's not going to be easy to understand. Okay, just keep things simple. Okay, because as we're looking at these notebooks, the longer I have to spend trying to find something I'm looking for, the more points that come off. And that's just how it works. So the easier you can make it, okay? For me to find something when I'm grading a notebook, the better off you're going to be. Poor notebooks are not typed, okay? Now, there's nothing wrong with putting handwritten things in there if they're proving you're going through the process, but the main paper needs to be typed. And you can use handwritten stuff to supplement that. Not documenting the entire process. Okay, we need to see documentation from all those phases of the engineering design process. Okay, so there needs to be examples. There needs to be descriptions and examples of what you're doing for each step of that process. Yes, please don't throw it together at the last minute. Okay, it is very obvious when we look at a notebook whether a team took the time to document it properly or if it's something that was just thrown together at the end because you have to do it. Okay? The score will reflect that. You cannot throw a notebook together at the last minute and expect to get a good score. It's not possible. Okay? Right. And as I mentioned before, poor notebooks are a result of too much focus on robot performance and not enough on the design process. Remember, notebooks are worth 25 points. Robot performance is worth 15 points. Okay, now I'm not saying not work on the robot. I mean, obviously that's important, okay? All aspects of the competition are important. That's my point, right? The notebook deserves the same, if not more attention than all the other aspects of this whole competition, okay? And I'm sure Dr. Welch, who's going to come in here after me and talk about the marketing presentation, will probably just say the same thing. Okay? Hers is important too. They're all important. All right, so here's some tips for success. Okay? Doing good on time. I would recommend assigning a notebook manager. You know, just someone on the team whose responsibility is to make sure everyone else on the team is giving them the documentation they need to put together a good notebook. Okay, just make it a student's responsibility that, you know, notebooks, I'm totally with you that notebooks are not the fun part of the competition. Okay, I'm right there with you on that. The robot is obviously the most fun, but it is a critical part of the process to be successful in this competition. Okay, and you just someone on the team who has that same philosophy and believes that same thing, you know, just needs to take the responsibility to be willing to put this together. Now, that's not to say that manager can't work on the robot. Everybody should be working on the robot, but everybody should be working on all of it, technically. Okay? But one person could just have a little more responsibility to make sure it gets put together properly. Okay? Include everything that's required. Okay? Use the guidelines as a checklist. Did we put that in there? Did we put that in there? Yes, 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 yes. Just check it off down the line. Okay, I say no less, no more. You know, don't try to add a bunch of stuff in there that we're not asking for. Okay? Just include what we're asking for, do those sections well, and that's what we're looking for. Okay, for example, binder cover, there's 4 requirements: school, team name, number, and teacher contact. I would highly recommend just put those 4 things on there and nothing else. Okay, make sure you have those 4 things, and we don't need any other information because that's what the rules are asking for. Use the project requirements as a checklist, like I said. Take advantage of the appendix. I talked a little bit about the appendix before, and it's just a great place to include things that may not be appropriate for the main body of the paper. Okay, get 30 pages, which I know seems like a lot, okay? But if you're documenting everything you're doing, like I'm saying you should, you will have no problem filling 30 pages, okay? And I guarantee you that you're just going to have to leak over into the appendix a little bit, okay? Okay, like I said, we have a lot of notebooks to grade. Okay, so organization is key. Okay, having an accurate table of contents, having an appendix that is supporting what's in the main paper. Okay, all those things are important. Basically, the way we did it last year, which I'm sure we will again, is each notebook is graded by 4 different professors. Okay? And that's just to keep it fair so that one professor's opinion is not dominated over another professor's opinion as to what makes a quality notebook. Okay? They're graded by 4 so we can get a consensus, and then everybody is graded fair. Okay? So for each notebook to have 4 graders, that's a lot of grading. Okay? And we spend a lot of time doing that, and we take it seriously because we think it's important. But your notebook is being graded by engineers. Okay? So keep that in mind when it comes to the organization of documenting your process. Okay? If you thought of it, document it, because that's what we want to see. Okay? 5 weeks from now, it's going to be impossible to say, okay, well, man, you had a good idea the first day we talked about this. What was that? And then of course you won't remember, right? So document, every day, what did we think about today? Take a few minutes at the end of every meeting to say, what did we talk about today? Let's write that down. What did we do today? Let's take a picture. Let's take a picture of, as we're building our robot, let's take a picture like every so often so they can see the development of the robot parts. Whatever it is, just show the process. Okay, so and I just throw this up at the end just to remind you of what this is, okay, the engineering design process, but that's all of the information I have to share with you, okay. It is 1:23, so that's 7 minutes. Yes, ma'am.
This engineering design process, is that in our notebook?
No, ma'am, it's not. But if you Google engineering design process and click on images or whatever, you will get 1,000 things that look similar to this. Now, I'm not saying use this one. I'm just saying this is an example. Everybody has their own idea of what the engineering design process is, but this is just a good example of the major components a typical process has. Okay? Yes, sir?
When you say checklist, is this the checklist you're referring to in our...
That is a check. That's actually the grading sheet. I don't know exactly what's in your packet, but I do have, I did see like a general outline of the competition requirements, with the marketing, presentation, and all those things. But yeah, that's even better. Is that in your packet?
It is, but there's nothing about an appendix on there, so I just want to make sure that it's included in...
Okay, now the appendix, I don't believe is actually graded.
It's just a supplement.
It's to supplement what's in the main paper.
Okay.
Okay, so what you would do is in the main paper, you would have an explanation.
Right.
Okay, good enough to get a good grade, but you can also say, for more information on how we did this or when we did this, see page so-and-so in the appendix. We can go to the appendix, and that just gives us an overall better picture of how the process works.
But it can be one piece of work. The appendix is tied in with our notebook.
That's correct.
That's what I want to make sure.
Yes. But the 30 pages go,
Yeah.
first, and everything in the appendix goes behind that.
Right.
And you can just refer to a page number, whatever, if we need to go to the appendix. Good question. Anybody else? Yes? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just wanted to mention that there's a special setup for each page too, the margins and the.
Oh, yes, there is. Okay, I forgot to put that on here. You're right. But that's in your packet, right?
Mhm.
Okay, yes, thank you.
That's another
And
one.
I remember,
that's
yes, 1-inch margins, because it's APA format. So 1-inch margins, okay, along with the 12 font times New Roman, double spacing. Okay, all that's APA format. That's what we have to write as when we write papers. Okay, so you're doing the same process, same formatting as we do. Okay. And make sure that you're doing your references. Okay, if you do some research online, you read a book, you do whatever, okay, and you got an idea from someone else about anything, you have to reference that and get them credit for it. Okay, so you may end up with a very long list of references if you're doing the appropriate amount of research. Okay.
Two things. Does the appendix, does that also have to be double spaced in 12 font?
Yes. Yes.
And
Okay.
what about the color? Just regular black for all
Yes. Yes. I mean, you can have colored pictures, okay? But as far as just the main text, I mean, let's just standard black for text. Now, the appendix will more than likely be things that are not normal narrative writing, okay? That'll be mainly in the body, and the appendix will be used more for like computer printouts of testing, Excel spreadsheets showing some calculations, there'll be pictures, there'll be tables, there'll be other things than writing. More than likely, I mean, you'll have some description in there, but really use the appendix for things that really emphasize the support of what you wrote about in the paper.
Do the pages need to be landscape or portrait?
Portrait.
Do the pages need to be in sleeves for the binder?
They do not have to be in sleeves. I did not read anything about them having to be in sleeves. Now, you're more than welcome to put them in sleeves if you would like to, but you don't get points deducted if they're not in sleeves.
Okay.
Now, depending on how much you use your notebook, I would suggest using the notebook. The notebook is not something separate that you just, all right, let's do the notebook and set it aside. It's a working document. I mean, this is your documentation of your project, okay? So basically, if you come up with ideas for your robot and you need a place to store those ideas so you don't lose them, let's put them in the notebook, okay? And now this notebook becomes a working document and a working place to keep our information for our project. And now we're just going to tidy it up with these other requirements and submit that as our notebook for the competition. Think of the notebook as a working document. Okay, it's not something separate that we do because we have to. The notebook is your process. It is your process. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you.